Yeah, right. I think we can go ahead and get started. I think people are gonna drop in as we go here. So yeah, welcome. We have something really exciting in terms of content. It's kind of a new format for us that we're testing out. Like Mikael said, it's based on a talk that he gave to one of our clients earlier this year, and he described it as a kind of carpet bomb in terms of content. So it's going to be, I think, quite intense, but incredibly information and value packed. So I am personally very excited as well to hear this. Yeah, before we get started, a couple of points. So this we've scheduled about an hour for this webinar, which should be enough time. So Mikael is going to talk for about 40 minutes, and then we'll have 20 minutes to do some Q&A or so. So if you have any questions throughout, you can just keep them in your head or write them in the chat, and we'll get back to it after at the end of the presentation. We're also going to be recording this presentation, so you'll receive a link afterwards with a recording, and we're also going to upload it to our YouTube channel. So if you want to share it with colleagues, friends, and family afterwards, you'll get the link to do that. And if you don't know us, Genero, just a couple of words about what we do. We are one of the leading growth agencies in the Nordics, about 125 employees across Finland, Sweden, and also some other places. I see Tyla, for instance, is here joining us, one of our colleagues from South Africa. So quite a broad range of people with a diverse set of skills, really working with focused on helping clients grow through various digital and other marketing and tech and content related tools. So yeah, I think that's it. Just going to hand over now to my colleague Mikael, and enjoy the show.
Okay, so welcome. Yeah, this is probably gonna be a bit of a hectic presentation, to be honest, because we have like 80 pages and a couple of videos. And when I previously did this, I spoke Finnish, my native language. So when I do this in English, probably there are gonna be some confusing bits. And if I cough and move on, then it means that I forgot something or forgot a word or something, but let's not let that disturb us. And like I said in the previous intro, probably this is going to be a really broad presentation. It encompasses a lot of different things. It has different approaches. And if you get one good point or one good story or one interesting tidbit you want to check up later, that would be a victory for all of us. So let's aim for that. If not, then, well, at least we gave a good effort. But yeah, let's go. So the rules of this presentation is we actually tried different angles how we could kind of sell this kind of a presentation, because usually when we do these, it's based on really heavily on one topic, but here it's more about basically trends and anti-trends. So this is not a trend presentation as such. There's going to be talk of trends, but we're going to approach them in the end from the angle even though things are changing, what's not changing. So this is not going to be a typical trend presentation. That's like rule number one. The second rule or point is that all the talking points I'm going to bring up are opinions with sources. So basically, I done some research, found interesting things, or what I at least consider interesting, and form opinions based on those. So if you don't agree with me, that's fine. If you want to know more, go to Google. There's data, numbers, facts, the original sources. You can make up your own mind. So obviously, some things are based on my opinions, but usually when I give a term or a topic or a theme, then you can go to Google and check it out yourself if you want to know more. Yeah, let's go. So basically what this webinar is a reaction and attempt to find focus, and basically me trying to kind of figure what is going on and maybe how we could react to that. And because these times with AI and other stuff I'm going to talk about are really uncertain, so it's really difficult to kind of find the focus. What's the next big thing? What should we focus on? What should we base our business on? What opportunities are there? What threats are there? There's like basically you get a lot of these kind of talks now, and the reason is nobody really knows. But the point I'm trying to make with this presentation is perhaps, sometimes at least, knowing what doesn't change can be as powerful as knowing what will change. And if you can focus on the fundamentals, sometimes you can get further on than with just running with current trends and stuff like that. Since, okay, AI is going to change stuff, that's given now, but it wasn't a couple of years ago. A lot of marketers were of the opinion that Go was the future of marketing. So obviously there's a lot of hype going on as well. So this presentation is about finding maybe a signal in the noise, and we'll see if I will be successful in doing that. Yeah, a very brief personal presentation. Where I come from. So my history as a creative, as a marketer, started in secondary school. It was a Finnish class. Our teacher gave us a horrible assignment. She gave us a book to kind of read and then do a report on. The book was quite boring. I hated the book. I hated the assignment. So I kind of started thinking, how can I make this interesting for me? And my solution was to write it as a Kalevala poem about mortal suffering. And if people don't know what Kalevala is, it's basically the Finnish national epoch, written in the, I guess, 1900s. It's a poem collection about like these epic gods and stuff, and it has this really particular way of expressing stuff. And I decided, yes, I'm going to write this report as a Kalevala poem. And well, the results, my teacher said, this is some kind of verbal genius. I remember a girl in the back row, when the teacher read it out loud, screamed like, Mikael, what VTF was that? And obviously results compared to what I got previously, great success. And after that, well, I've done a couple of things. Got a few degrees. Actually, saying that MA, MBA, BA, BA is always fun. I'm a certified service designer, and that kind of gives where I usually approach my work. I have a humanistic background. I have dabbled in technology. I dabbled in languages. I dabbled in service design. So a lot of what I approach comes from those like kind of backgrounds. I worked in advertising since 2016. Before that, I've been working in content and analytics, so business analytics, media analytics, PR, since 2013. And before that, I actually started writing as a freelance writer and journalist for music blogs, small local magazines and stuff. So I've been writing and doing communications since 2008 in various different roles. So my work history is a bit schizophrenic, to be honest. But during that, I managed to actually work with a bunch of really great brands, done some really great campaigns, done some really great work, and actually kind of remembering that there have been successes is really important, because obviously this industry, what we do, it changes all the time, and what the thing is this about this industry, it's always focused on the future and what happens next, the new, and basically everything dies all the time. So TV is dead, even the internet has been claimed dead for a couple of times. So it's always about like everything needs to be new. We are completely future focused, and probably I think there's merit to that, definitely. So you don't want to get left behind, but also if you really think what we're doing, there are a lot of things that don't change. But obviously, learning new stuff, also about those things that don't change. It's about discovery, rediscovery, and change all the time. But even through all these changes, the advent of ChatGPT-2 actually gave me a pause, because the rise of AI is something completely new, and I believe it is a paradigm shift in a lot of ways. And so the next section is going to be about basically the revolution happening now and other trends that maybe should keep us all awake up at night, at least sometimes. So not too often, but at least once maybe. So this is the trend portion of this talk. Well, since this is something really new, so ChatGPT 2 became out late last year, and it really started this. It has been happening before, and there are a lot of tools, so this is nothing completely new. And let's say like Facebook and stuff have used AI for a long time already. But for consumers, for different people, actually having that interface where you can talk with an AI and have and this iterative way of working, it's something new, and it is causing a revolution. But the problem is nobody really knows where it's going. So there is the bull scenario and there's the bear scenario. What it means, it might change everything, or it might change nothing that much, but it's still in the air what it actually is going to be. So if somebody says where it's going to go, they're probably lying. But what's really interesting to me is kind of what AI can do, what we can do with AI already, but also what it kind of means. And I wanted to kind of demonstrate this by asking AI what it is and then letting it tell us what it is. So let's see if these videos work as they're supposed to, and the sound works and stuff. So if you're not hearing the sound,
powerful tool that is transforming the way we... Hey there, folks. Do you know what's better than a marketer with a crystal ball? A marketer with AI. That's right, AI is changing the game when it comes to marketing. With AI, we can create personalized experiences, automate content creation, and even predict customer behavior. It's like having a magic wand for marketing. But in all seriousness, AI is a powerful tool that is transforming the way we interact with our customers and promote our products and services. It allows us to analyze vast amounts of data and provide valuable insights, tailor our messaging to specific customer segments, and optimize our campaigns for maximum ROI. However, we must remember that AI is just a tool, and it's up to us to learn how to use it to its fullest potential. So let's embrace the power of AI in marketing and create some magic.
Yeah, personally, I think this is pretty creepy because, as you probably figured out, the presenter is also an AI character, made it with a service called Synesthesia, and what he said was from ChatGPT 2. By the way, ChatGPT 4 is way better already. So this was made with, I guess it was 3.5 what I used to do this, and 4 is way more advanced already. But here it basically took 2 prompts to kind of make the video script. So I asked the AI, how is AI going to change marketing? And then give the answer as a 2-minute speech. And then it did it. And then I just asked it to make it shorter and add a joke in the beginning. And it did it. And then I just imported that pretty directly into Synesthesia. Adjusted the timing a little, and it was done. And it took me 10 minutes. And as you can see, it was quite strange to actually see AI. Like photorealistic AI is still, it has some problems. ChatGPT 2 has some problems, so it's still not quite there. But it's not gonna take that much imagination to kind of see where things are going because of this. So here are my guesses. This is a pretty bleak scenario, to be honest, but there's going to be an explosion of all kind of content. So just making videos, making scripts, making articles, making everything takes a couple of buttons now. So you can create like basically 500,000 articles in a matter of a day, maybe just an Excel sheet, and you're good to go. Obviously, it also means, because what AI does, it combines knowledge, it combines sources. It makes knowledge as such as a commodity, and just the fact that some people know more, so-called experts, that in itself isn't that valuable anymore. Obviously, there's this phenomenon called reality apathy, and that means that if you know the term fake news, you probably do. It means that we really can't say what's real anymore. And this is actually a phenomenon happen all over the internet, because people are questioning everything now. It's not clear. If you see videos of people talking, you really can't anymore say that it's real. You could make this webinar with AI tools, just having me talking a bit and have my image and then edit it a bit, and you could make this webinar with AI tools already today. There are actually also supermodels are getting fired because you can make like models with AI and put your clothes on them, and of course you can make them as perfect or look the way you like. So that's already possible today. And what it means that is the whole model in the industry going to change, nobody knows, but it is possible already. And obviously because of that, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. Like probably what I did last week, it's going to be obsolete in a couple of years. Not right now, but probably in a couple of years or even sooner, at least some parts of it. So basically generating text and stuff like that. So at least the basic work is going to change a lot when we talk about expert work, knowledge work. And even code work, by the way. You can generate code with ChatGPT, but obviously all of the work isn't generating that code. You also have to know what to ask the machine and where to plant the code and stuff. But what the work is going to change because of this. What this is also means that the amount of content is no longer a competitive advantage. So the strategy to have strong positions in Google. A long time, one of the things also we at Genero did a lot was to just create more content than the competitors did. But now, because everybody can basically for free generate millions of articles if they want, the amount of content in itself is no longer a valid competitive strategy. You have to aim for quality, or you have to be more relevant, and you have to have some kind of a point of view to make it actually count. Because Google no longer cares who does the content, so long it's good and that people find what they're looking for. So in a societal level, what this is probably going to lead to is we can have like millions of variations of each article, website, ad, whatever the content is, we can have those variations. You can spam email like never before. So if we think of it as a society, one way of influencing, let's say, decision makers has been emailing them or writing letters and stuff like that. And now you can have, with a couple of button presses, you can have 500,000 Finnish people or Swedish people or people from wherever expressing an opinion that actually is the opinion of one person. So this probably is going to change the way we communicate with government and communicate with each other. Because you can basically clog every email in the world pretty easily if you choose to do that. And also the relation between images, text, or videos, the relation they have with reality is changing. And deepfakes have existed for a while now, but they're getting really good. And actually the technology to do deepfake videos and images, it's actually now something that pretty much anybody can do. It used to be kind of hard, but now if you really choose to do them, it's easy. And this is something that has been picked up by the media, at least in Finland, in the last couple of weeks, that this is actually something that's happening. But one point of view I kind of have is that when we talk about just making new images or making texts or whatever, like this is something I kind of think about, like what is the problem we're trying to solve here, because there already is more of everything that anybody can consume in 1,000 lifetimes. The amount of new stuff coming online all the time is huge. If you need some kind of image, there's pretty much always some version of that image. There are really great photo banks and articles and stuff people give and do for free already, and if Pinterest and stuff like that. So there's already gone, this generation of things is already huge. So the problem this solves, probably just generating new stuff, that really wasn't a problem, to be honest. But this is actually really interesting, all the things I've said before, because also the way we're searching for information is currently changing. It's probably not a controversial thing to say that SEO and search ads have impacted the Google user experience. That's Also something we at Genero are quite good at and what we do a lot, but because of everybody does it, it has led into a situation where basically using Google has become worse. And around the world, there's actually this phenomenon going on. Let's Reddit it. So what people write in the Google is the search term plus Reddit, because they've noticed that in Reddit you usually get a better answer than only through Google. So this is what I kind of find really interesting, because the core functionality of Google is changing in that way. And for Generation Z, they are a lot of them, not obviously when I talk this generalizations, but a lot of them are already skipping Google. They're going straight to TikTok. So if they travel to a new city or something, they want to do something or find something new, they're not going to Google and ask Google what are the places to visit. They're going to TikTok, and there they get people actually having their own faces and cameras showing interesting stuff in the cities. Another option, if you need some more information, is obviously go to YouTube, and you can find long video essays about basically everything there as well. So the news paradigm for finding stuff looks something like this. Obviously, it's not a full picture, and what's also really important, you can use AI tools, especially ChatGPT and well, I guess the Bing now, and probably in the future also Bard from Google, gonna find you stuff. But if you need it fast, you go to TikTok. If you need something more, you go to YouTube. And if you're making a once in a lifetime choice where you're basically buying a house or selecting a spouse, you're going to read a Google article from the first page, but you really want to have the answer in the headline or immediately following that headline. So the patience for search is also really minimal. So when doing articles, you kind of have to serve the people fast if you want to be in the game. Also, what's really interesting is the role of influencers. Now, a lot of people actually trust certain influencers more than they trust their governments, media, news institutions, especially politicians. A lot of actually politicians that now, in the recent general election here in Finland, that got through Google, not through Google, through TikTok. So they had huge TikTok presences, and that actually affected at least the youth vote a lot. So it's already affecting. So it's not only like they follow the influencers, they actually the way they view the world and understand the stuff is actually happening through influencers. A really interesting case of this was where this is showing is that even White House, so like the most powerful place on earth, is actually already relying on TikTok influencers to kind of formulate the way people actually see things. So they knew that TikTok is going to be a battleground of information, so they wanted to get the biggest TikTok influencers they can to kind of spread their message about what's happening in Ukraine and what's all this about. And they have been keeping up this correspondence ever since. But for like marketers, companies, but I kind of think that if you want to influence people, want to talk about facts, want to talk about what you think is right, it's always also counter-influencing. It's never just influencing people. You're always fighting against some other piece of information of worldview. So to make it kind of real, to make it believable, it's really important. Also, I found this article written by Alex Morel. He's the strategy director at APOC in the UK. He wrote this article called Age of Average. And the next couple of slides I picked from that article. Go read it. It's really interesting. And he made a case that actually we are entering basically an age where everything looks and feels the same. And I'm going to show some example of what he means by that, where we are kind of witnessing now this kind of a convergence of taste all around the world. So it's not happening just in one place. And this has been going on for a longer time now. These images are actually from an art project called People's Choice. It was done in the 90s by a couple of artists called Vitaly Komar and Alexander Melanit. And what they did this like basically global survey around the world in different countries for people, like what kind of art do you want to see? And the results, as you see, is some kind of nature, usually the color blue, and some people in it. And it was everywhere the same. So these are like artworks ordered by people around the world based on the popular opinion. So we're not that different as we like to think when it comes, at least when it comes to like visual tastes and stuff. But what has been happening since, because of a lot of things, design thinking, internet, when designers go to work, they usually use the same reference images. Interior designers use the same reference images. Obviously, there are a lot of things causing this, but here's the interior design examples around the globe. Here are storefronts and cafes. For companies, this actually is an opportunity. So if you look at storefronts, everything is it looks alike. You just change logo. It can be anything. If you do something different, you will stand out, to be honest. And you can kind of see here that the cafe design has actually influenced the interior design, and the interior design has influenced the cafe design. And this is happening all around the world as we speak. Also design, because of a lot of things, like these are all different cars, but they look kind of like. Also the colors have been becoming more monochromatic, so it's usually white, gray, or black now. Usually cars used to be blue and red and yellow, whatever, but those are getting more rare. So usually it's white, gray, or black, and it has this same wind tunnel design. It comes to brands as well. So we have this flat design trend going on. A lot of these car logos look the same, but if you start looking from these, it's happening into other fields as well. Like technology companies, usually the text logos look a lot alike. So it's a copy from a copy from a copy. And if you do something that's different, you're probably not going to win the case because people are expecting something. But again, this is an opportunity if you know how to use it. Brand imagery, here are some toothpastes. They're all different brands, but look kind of like. So the color choices, how they're presented, it's pretty similar. Even horror movie advertising. So a lot of films use the eye image, so the language is converging, and there are some expectations you have to fill. And if you do this kind of a poster, you're not gonna basically upset anybody, but you're also not gonna get fired. Beauty standards, the so-called Instagram phase, started by Kim Kardashian. This is basically around the world now the beauty standard because of the Instagram and Instagram models. Photos, again, if you go to Pinterest, you go to Instagram, you kind of realize that they are a lot like. So how we present stuff is also kind of converging worldwide. But what I kind of think is interesting is this is what works. So everything is affected by data, how we read it, but it leads to everything looking and feeling the same. If you do something different, you might not get the great results you're looking for, but then again, you also might actually create a wholly new phenomena, can really stand out. So this can be a threat or opportunity. If you want to stand out, it's really easy these days. But also interesting when we talk about AI, because obviously where AI gets its information, everything, it's from the internet. So if everything looks and feels the same, obviously when it kind of mixes and matches, there's going to be some interesting combinations coming on. But since we also do data and machine learning, probably the future of AI is going to be weird, but look and feel pretty much the same everywhere. So that's my prediction. Yeah, but most of these trends and ideas probably should not come as a surprise, at least not most of them. But the question again is, how should we react to these? And my argument is that maybe, it's really a good idea to keep up and keep experimenting, try new stuff, try new technology. But the less obvious is focus on what doesn't change. And I'm trying to make a case for that now. First, we haven't evolved in the past 200,000 years that much. And it's fashionable to talk about change. This quote is from Bill Birnbaugh. He was an ad guy in the 50s, basically the father of modern advertising, somebody could say. He was talking about this already in the 50s, that although we love the new, actually, if we kind of think about our needs and stuff, they have remained the same. Here's a more modern quote from a guy you might know, Jeff Bezos. One of his business philosophies, he taught this to the guys at Basecamp. when I check their blogs out, they're really great as well. Is that the secret is you kind of want to focus on what doesn't change in your business, because for Amazon that means that even in 10 years people are still wanting cheap products delivered fast. That's not going to change. So if you focus on that and be customer centric, probably some stuff is going to change. Maybe who delivers it is going to change, but the core of the customer experience, the core what people expect, what they want, what they need, is not going to change in 10 years. But you only have to have this really broad perspective to it. Okay, my first argument: the need for empathy and care does not change. And here's a case from February this year. There was a school shooting in Michigan, and deans in another university, so Vanderbilt University, more precisely the deans for their Peabody Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, decided, yeah, we're going to use ChatGTP to write an email to all staff and students at the school about this mass shooting. And it didn't go well, so it caused a bit of a shitstorm in the US. And I think this was an interesting case, because for this to happen, the people actually doing that, so using ChatGTP, had to actually make 4 choices that are really, really bad choices, at least to me. First, they decided to communicate at first place. So they didn't have anything to do directly with the shooting. It wasn't in the same school. It wasn't even the same state. But they decided we need to say something. First decision. Then they decided to actually, they decided that the shooting took place. So why it happened was because of lack of inclusivity, which there are no evidence for that. They just decided it was because of what we do is why this happens. Then they decided to kind of advance their topic of inclusion at the school through an email. By the way, using an email to actually create inclusion is probably not the right media to do that. And then the last one, obviously, they decided to use ChatGTP to write this highly sensitive email about a really, really like burning and sensitive topic without any empathy. And if you look at the text, it's really cold. It's really like mechanical. It's really bad as well. So probably they didn't even read the message before sending that. Where this leads is, obviously there's new technology, but you as a communicator, and we are all communicators, are in charge of the communication and the effect. That's not going to change. Second thing is, yeah, probably everybody knows Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Have heard about it. It's not a really effective way to describe human motivation, but human motivation as such hasn't changed. But if you use, by the way, if somebody uses this model to kind of describe human motivation, it's not a valid motivation. Even Maslow himself critiqued it before he died. If you want to like have an example why this is, if you think about it, it's a cliche that in like poor areas, in ghettos, barrios, it's more important to have nice shoes than to have food every day, or have a TV than food every day, because the how these actually go and how they're related to each other, it's not that clear. There's some, it's not this clear, but the model itself, the things in the model are quite valid, and they haven't really changed that much since we lived in caves. But the thing is, a lot of the services, the advertising, products, what we do is not based on the actual needs of the people, at least the benefits of they think about features, not the benefits. And usually, in a lot of times, it's done because we need something done. We write these articles because we can do it. We do it as an article because it's easier for us, maybe not what the people need. And this is something that happens a lot in our industry, and in a lot of industries, actually. Strategy still is in management. And this is actually something I recommend people read. The book Crux by Richard Rummelt. It came out, I think, last year. It's about strategy, what it actually means. And one point is that when we talk about measuring stuff, so metrics, it's called management. It's not strategy. And basically, that's what a lot of marketers are now focused on completely. and don't get me wrong, measuring stuff is really important, but the actual what strategy is, it's asking the bigger questions. So what should we get, not how should we measure it? And the lack of strategy expertise is actually a global phenomenon. There was this project done in 2020 by a couple of ex-agency strategists called Better Briefs Project. They have a free white paper about it, but basically the results are that like agencies, companies, brand, they can brief anybody. They can give good briefs, have a clear perspective of the strategy. They can communicate it, and although they think they do, like the above picture is actually funny. Most marketers think they're good at writing briefs. Most agencies disagree, and as you can see, the disagreement is quite huge. This is a really interesting white paper. Go up and pick it up. It's free for an email address. And the point I'm trying to make with this, it's really still important to see the big picture and to be able to communicate it to others. Just because there's an AI, it doesn't mean you don't have to think. And also the communication part of it is also important. You can use ChatGPT, but if you can't explain to a human what you want to achieve, then probably a machine's not going to be able to help you. The need for insights and humor doesn't change. And as we probably remember in the image I showed you in the video, the joke the AI right in the beginning was quite bad and delivered in a really, really funny way, funny in the wrong way. And though AI has an impressive vocabulary, it does have some insight. It's getting better. It lacks empathy and sense of timing. It doesn't have insights to human condition. And if you rely on an AI to write your jokes, you probably have done something wrong. And by the way, when I talk about insight, it doesn't really mean facts or statistic. It means kind of underlying truths, reasons, beliefs that are behind behavior. We can observe behavioral things like Hotjar, how people move in the internet. We have a lot of tools to kind of observe behavior, to kind of understand it. You have to go beyond that, and to make insights, you have to actually talk to people, and even then people usually lie. So market research, you have to be critical of what you're doing, but to get real insights, it's actually a lot of work, but the AI also can't do it. Humor works in a lot of advertising. It works in a lot of products because people like things that make them feel good. And humor, actually there's also a trend coming on that there's less and less humor in advertising, less and less humor in communication. It probably has something to do with social media, cancel culture, stuff like that. But probably there are also a lot of people being really insecure and afraid. And there used to be also this kind of weird theory going on that advertising communication always needs to be positive, and I haven't found the communication theory actually supporting that idea. But humor, when you're on a date, when you're talking to a customer, especially when things haven't gone the right way, it's usually what works, and it connects people to people and people to brands. But I kind of wanted to give one example of a humorous ad. But actually what I kind of decided is kind of make a point that humor, but also this kind of a spectacle, making something people actually want to watch, want to follow, want to read, is still really important. We're living in this called economy of economy of attention. And what it means that people, if you really can't just push a message to people, they kind of need to be able to want to see what you're doing and also share. If you can give people content they want to share, you're building something great. Just doing paid advertising these days probably in most cases isn't worth it. Unless you're an e-commerce company, then it's a different thing maybe. But I kind of decided to show you this Belvedere vodka ad. It was done this year. It features Daniel Craig. It was directed by Taika Waititi. It blew up, caused a lot of conversation in the industry because it's actually really vapid. It's really funny, but it's all about the spectacle. It's all about the glitz and the glamours. But then again, seeing Daniel Craig dancing on streets directed by Taika Waititi is probably something that a lot of people want to see. And I kind of want to share this ad with you if you haven't seen it before.
Starting 2 members. I just got here, the party's stupendous. I'm just spending, I bought out the whole bar. I'm just generous.
I pick him up, can put him down, can put him down. I can't help myself when that guy comes around. Yeah, I'm saying it's the lips, it's the eyes when you hold me tight. Up in my head every day, need it every night. And he made me say, yeah, my body say, make my body say, yeah, bring it over here. Keep it going, boy.
Been at it for days now, it's just endless. She came to my house in suspenders. That time that she had's been extended. Central Friday night with West Enders.
That guy got me weak at the knees. Now you better keep it coming, baby. Come put your moves on me. Put your loving on me.
Finally.
And cut. Let's go again. Just be yourself.
Belvedere vodka.
And cut.
Short because I'm a little bit behind the time. Here's a couple ideas about decision making, why actually decisions are made with emotions. Obviously, this is not a new theory that actually you really need to be. Emotions are the thing that allow you to do the decision making. There's this case called Elliot. It was presented in a 2001 book by Antonio Damasio called Discard This Is a Mistake. It was about a guy who actually lost the capacity to actually feel emotions. He was really smart. He could name every restaurant in town and what are their good sides and bad sides, but he couldn't make the decision between them. So actually causing this emotion is when you're trying to sell something is really important. It's something, at least what in B2B we usually forget, that the bigger the decision is, the more important actually the emotional part of that is. We're not different animals at work that we are on our free time. And obviously we might process a couple of things and might consider things a bit differently, but in the end still we feel the same emotions with the same people when we are at work, and especially in the B2B sector this usually is forgotten completely. But my last point is experiences, memories shape lives and relationships, and also companies and customers. So what copywriters do, what we're supposed to do, is add value to the communications. And small changes in the communications can actually be the thing that separates from somebody buying and somebody not buying. And the whole UX writing phenomena, where we can actually use data to kind of figure out what works, actually supports this. Small changes can mean a lot. The above ad I showed you with Daniel Craig was actually a really expensive ad to make, but this point is actually, it doesn't have to be expensive. You have to only kind of get the insight, get what people are interested about and what the human condition is, and then you can use really small elements to actually make experiences to people. So there's this old industry story about a beggar. He had a sign which said, "I am blind, please help." One day a stranger walked by and gave him some money and asked, "Can I make a few changes to your sign?" And the beggar said yes, and the next day suddenly money started pouring in. At the end of the day, it was a really profitable day. The beggar asked somebody to read the sign. What has the stranger written on it? And the pastor agreed. And now the sign said, "It's spring and I'm blind. Please help." So the addition of spring, it gave the people passing by this ability to kind of empathize to the beggar's situation in a stronger way than just saying I'm blind. Because they can empathize, spring is beautiful and stuff like that. So the small change actually caused a change in the result as well. This is an old story, probably written by David Ogilvy. At least he's the first one to probably say it in his book on advertising. It's still a really great book from the 60s. A lot of it is still true, but obviously advertising has changed since then. But the story, I think, is still true. Small thing can trigger an experience, can trigger an emotion. It can be as much as saying please when you're doing customer service. Have a great image. It can be something to actually apologize if you do something wrong. It can be a really small thing you can, and it can cause a customer to be really loyal, for somebody to change the whole basically career path or change life. And the story actually in the beginning I told about me in the classroom thinking about how to do something interesting, and then the teacher's words, those actually affected me in a really powerful way, and I'm here talking to you guys because of those words. So all it took for me as a young impressionable student to kind of change my whole life, actually what it took was 5 words. So it doesn't have to be an AI, it doesn't have to be an $1 million advertising. What it really needs is for someone to understand somebody else's situation and communicate something effectively or offer something in an interesting way. And yes, that's it. Was a whole lot, I know. Thank you. My questions to you guys is, what do you think? Do you disagree? Was there something you wanted to know more about? Probably we don't have that much time for conversation I kind of hope for, but whatever we can, let's have. We have 10 minutes until we are supposed to end this session. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks a lot, Mikael. That was really, really value packed. As people are kind of thinking about questions to ask, I have an observation and a question. I think it was the point about convergence of taste is a really important trend, I think, and it presents such a big opportunity. And you mentioned you had the one slide with all the car brands. I think I think people could Google Tesla Cybertruck, because that's like an example of someone who takes design in the complete opposite direction. And Tesla, and specifically Elon Musk, like one of the things that he does best is just to do things that are kind of outrageously outside the norm, and it goes against expectation. So that's a really good example. But my question is, what are some practical ways that people who are listening to this right now could fight this kind of convergence of taste? Is it about the messaging? Is it about creating visuals, or is it about going to product? Like, what are some practical ways that they can start challenging and kind of standing out?
My answer is yes. Those. The thing is, it's not only one thing, and let's focus on a product, because I think that's an easy kind of thing to focus on. Is when doing product design, first of all, not only use data. So when doing market research, if you're doing quantitative research, whatever that means, online surveys, Hotjar, whatever, then also support that with qualitative interviews. So also interview people and actually talk to people and observe how people behave, and maybe ask why they do pick some products and not others. There is no one single thing you can do actually to kind of get the truth, but actually film a more broad picture to kind of understand why and why do people do what they do. There was this example, was an old example, you probably still can find it somewhere, is people actually bought a lot of Bounty chocolate bars, those with coconut. A lot of people don't like. The reason wasn't the taste, at least the article I read about it said it was because they were really easy to open. And there it was like this one benefit nobody else thought about, and that's one of the reasons why Bounty was quite successful. But also going actually like doing something completely illogical, like if you want to compete with Coca-Cola, then you can do a better Coke, and you can outspend them. But the other way to go was what Red Bull did. So they actually made something that tastes actually not that great. They did really small cans, so it's almost like a medicine. And suddenly it's something completely else. So also, if you think about this learned or gained wisdom, then go do something completely at odds with that. Like jeans, the fabric, it was developed for workers on the fields of California, I think. And using that kind of a heavy fabric in the sun, it's not a good idea, but actually it worked because they are durable. So also going against grain, having this more bigger picture view of what could be good and stuff like that. That's like one way to go about it. But obviously, also when designers or agencies or your employees present you something, also ask maybe more difficult questions or um, try more interesting stuff, because obviously if you're a big company, launching a new product is always a big thing, but you have the alternative to try stuff, to try different package designs, try what kind of would work, and even crazy stuff. So the investment can be quite small, but results can be quite great. So here's a couple of ideas. Did I answer your question? I don't know.
That was really good. I think one thing, just to highlight a couple of points you said, like not just using quantitative data, because I feel like if you do that only, you lose the taste. And that's like, if you think of all the great brands and products, there's always been that like judgment and qualitative, subjective aspect to it. And another thing is like if you're Coke, you have the benefit of having beating the category leader, but that also means you're locked in. Like you don't have that much wiggle room. You can't just experiment with things. But when you're small, you have the luxury of being able to test a lot of things. So you should use that to your advantage if you're not the category leader, to be able to experiment a lot. And now
Yeah, and also what's there's something to be said about niche audiences. So obviously, if you're marketing only in a small city in Finland, you probably don't have a big niche audience. But if the audience is global, even small niche audiences actually are millions or tens of millions of people. So if you can find a niche that can be also at least try to find different niches where to market, that can be also something you could do.
Yeah, totally. I had some questions. You obviously AI is a hot topic right now, and you showed some examples there. What are, in your opinion, like some practical use cases? Two questions. What are some practical use cases that someone could use AI for today, like a company, whether it's marketing or content or just in general streamlining or improving their processes? And two, in order to be able to use this, how should companies be thinking about actually learning to use these AI tools? Do they need some kind of training? Do they need to allocate a specific person who's kind of in charge of figuring out what's happening on the AI and trying to implement it inside the company? So how can they use it, and how would they actually be able to learn how to use these tools?
Again, you can actually approach these questions in multiple different ways. I think, first of all, companies should, at least now, consider how they view AI, because it does have some ethical and moral issues. And also, AI does make mistakes, and they can be quite costly. And as we saw in the Vanderbilt University case, you can also do a lot of bad stuff with AI. So have this kind of a policy on AI. I think that's important. So where to use it and how to use it, at least give some kind of directions to employees, because everybody is going to not everybody, most people are going to use them if they aren't using them already. So what's the company policy? That's like one thing I would say. But another thing is, Actually, what I believe where it helps, or a use case, is to kind of think of the busy work. So answering emails is one thing. A lot of companies are quite horrible in that. So if you think of customer service or internal or external communications, having an AI to help you write emails is really helpful for a lot of people, and you can improve your customer experience. You can improve how you communicate with your coworkers. If you're a job seeker, for example, like writing these motivation cover letters or CVs is quite dreary, and you have to like do it over and over and over again. So if you train the AI to write those for you, you can save a lot of time. So everywhere where there's this kind of repetitive processes where you have to kind of generate something, you probably can do them faster with AI. But obviously, it's a vast field. There are a lot of different tools. So probably there are like hundreds of thousands of millions of different use cases where you can use it. But I think at this stage, like the repetitive tasks and also those kind of tasks where you kind of need somebody to spar with you. So about an article or something, like AI can give you ideas or improve your texts or even translate the text. Actually, ChatGPT 4 is quite good at translating, at least from into English. So using that is also advisable. So if you want to build, let's say, a pop-up web store in Japan, you can do it with those AI tools without that much of a hassle. So it can be done probably in an evening if you want to.
Yeah, that's a good example. For me, Finnish is not my native language, so writing in Finnish is quite time consuming. But what I can do with ChatGPT 4 is just put in the text that I've written and ask it to improve it, and it works really well. Makes it removes any grammatical errors, makes it a lot more fluent, makes it a lot more actually precise and concise and effective at actually communicating what I'm trying to communicate. So that's an example of, because I think you also made a really good point that you don't want AI to you don't want to be putting something into, let's say, ChatGPT, and then just copy pasting the output without actually reflecting, because that's what happened in the email case there. So you want to use it as a tool and not a replacement.
Yeah. And kind of remember, you have the responsibility in the end. So whatever tools you use, you have the responsibility as the communicator, what the effects are, what the communication is. So even though they are quite advanced already, you still have to be in charge and take the responsibility, I believe.
Absolutely. All right. You're welcome, Jonas. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I think we're going to wrap up here. It's 12 p.m. now. Sorry, 12 p.m. So thank you, everyone, thank you, Mika, for hosting. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, spending this hour with us. I hope, as you said in the beginning, Mika, it's going to be a lot of information, but if you take one thing away from it, it's been time well spent. I think everyone probably did take at least one thing away from this. So yeah, thanks, everyone. The recording is going to be sent to you by email, and we hope to see you in the next webinar.
Okay, thanks.